Hey there YouTube fans, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install this front headlight bracket. If you were ever in a small accident with your R3, maybe slid and the front end of your bike hit something, or you rear-ended another vehicle, or something happened where it caused your front headlight to be damaged, luckily for us R3 owners, your bike won't have to be totaled. There's actually a bracket that holds that whole headlight unit in place, and with 2 bolts it attaches to the frame of the bike. So if you ever happen to damage that area, 2 bolts take it out, and you could just take out the whole bracket and order a brand new one. I paid around $90 from the Yamaha dealership because I wanted to get an OEM part. I didn't want to get any secondhand or any rip-off brackets. Here are some pictures of my accident. This lady slammed her brakes, caused me to hit the back end of her. She tried to run, but another car cut her off and made her stop. That's why you see the distance between my bike and her SUV. Now here are some pictures of my damage to my bike. You can see my headlight is all messed up. What I didn't know is that the internal frame, the bracket of the headlight, the damage from the accident caused the headlight bracket to get bent. I didn't realize this until I started taking my bike apart. So as you could see, headlight's damaged, the brace of the headlight that holds it together is damaged. There's a lot of broken pieces. Okay, tools needed for the job. It's going to be a 10mm socket, 3mm Allen key, 4mm Allen key, 5mm Allen key, and a small screwdriver to pop the little caps of where the mirrors are located. Also, you're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver. Okay, now let me show you the parts that you're going to need to take off. Okay, to remove the headlight bracket for your R3, you're going to have to disassemble the whole front end of your bike. So I'm going to pinpoint to you each location of the bolts that you need to remove. Alright, so these are going to be the parts that you're going to need to remove from your bike to get to the headlight brackets. Then from the top, and then there's also 2 spots on the inside. One right there, and another one's right over there. Okay, once you take off this triangle piece here, there is a small screw here. Just a small turn of the Phillips screwdriver, and this piece pops right out. So you can take off this piece. Now once you take off this piece, to take off the fairing, you're also going to have to unbolt this one. This bolt right here. Okay, you're going to also have to remove this bolt right here, because that takes out this plastic part of the bike. On the top, you have a bolt right here. Okay, on the inside of the bike, have LEDs, but there is a bolt right here. And then at the bottom, you can see right there, there is a bolt here. I have a downpipe grill, so if you do have this on your bike also, you're going to have to remove both bolts on both of these sides over here. If you look underneath your headlight, do have a little plastic screw right here. Just a small twist and that actually comes right off. And then underneath, as you can see, there's a little plastic Phillips screw. Just a quick turn and that part comes off. So you have to remove that piece on both sides. Okay, and then for the mirror, your mirror has these little caps. With your screwdriver bit or your screwdriver, you're going to have to pop these little caps off, and behind it is going to be the Allen screw, which you're going to need to take off. So you're going to do this on both sides. Then you're also going to have to remove these screws here on both sides. Okay, once you get to this stage, to remove the headlight unit from its bracket, there are 4 screws you need to remove with a Phillips head. One right there and one right there on this side, and it's the same on the other side also. Here on the other side, this side, one right here, and the other one is right there. So after removing those 4 screws, the headlight assembly should come off. Okay, next you want to remove these rubber pieces that go over. These are where your mirrors attach to. Just a rubber piece just dampens the vibrations for your mirrors. So you want to remove those pieces, both sides. Don't mind this is my cable for my radar detector. Okay, after removing those pieces, as you can see, there are 4 circle grommet areas right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's where your headlight would mount to. So take these off and put them into the new bracket, so they just come off like that. So just remove them from each of them. each side here. Okay, after you remove them, it should look like this. As you can see, mine are very messed up. After I had my accident, I didn't have money to get the new bracket. Okay, next you want to remove the gauge cluster, and you could use an 8mm socket or a wrench to take these bolts out. And there's one on each side, one here, and one right there. Okay, next, to remove the whole bracket here, you're gonna have to take out these bolts, and with that would be a 12mm socket. Okay, once you get the two bolts out, to get the bracket off, just lift it and pull it all the way up, because if you notice there is a notch right here to keep it from going anywhere. So lift, and it comes right out. Okay, now that you got your new bracket, to install it back, just want to make sure you get that notch right there, and you want to get it back in that little slot right in that center hole there. Okay, so just tilt it up. Make sure you get it in that little hole right there, and then bring it down. Okay, once you get the notch in that little slot right there, just put it in there, and then just bring down the bracket. Okay, now get your bolts, and right now would be a good idea to put a little bit of thread lock into the threads, like so. Grab your bolt, and then put it right on the bracket. Then tighten down the bolts. Okay, now that you have your headlight bracket in place, those rubber grommets that you had taken out earlier, you want to squeeze them in like this and pop them right back inside. And do that for all 4 sections. Now before we put our headlight back together, we're going to have to put our instrument cluster back on. So well, let's get to that. Put it back on, same thing as we took it off, just these 2 bolts here and here. If you're going to be doing any type of switches or mounting brackets for your R3, I found a good spot for it, which would be right here on the frame of where your instrument cluster would go right here. I made this little bracket here out of just some aluminum I had laying around. This switch over here is for my LEDs, and this switch over here is going to be for my glow on the headlights. So I just made a metal bracket, a bolt, and I'm just gonna bolt it to the frame right here, which I feel it fits perfectly right there. I measured it and kind of made it to fit, so that way you have access to it as you're riding. You're sitting over here and you have access to it right here. So if you're planning to do anything, that'd be a good spot. You got 2 areas here. Do something like I did, or you could make your own type of bracket and switch. Just giving you some ideas if you're looking for a location to put something as far as a switch or anything like that goes. Okay, when installing your cluster gauge back on, just want to make sure that the little tab hooks up into this little hole area, like so. If you don't, most likely your thing won't be on there properly, it might move around. Just keeps it in place. So when putting it on, just make sure that it goes over that little tab right there on both sides. Okay, now that everything's back in place right there, it should look like that. As you can see, it's right on the tab. Okay, next you want to grab your headlight and you want to mount it back onto the bike. Okay, now you want to make sure that you line up your tabs with the corresponding holes on the frame. So there's 4. There's one there, one there and there, and one over here, and those are going to line up with these posts, and there's 4 on the back of the headlight. One here, one down there, one on this side, and one on this side. So you just want to make sure that you properly align these mounts with the holes on the frame, so on the headlight frame. Okay, once you get your headlight in place, it'd be a good idea to stand in front of it, that way you could hold it in place You want to get your screw with the flat head, and then just put the screw in, and then get your screwdriver and tighten it down. Okay, when installing your fairing back onto the bike, just pretty much the reverse process of taking it apart. Main important thing is that when you install the fairing back on, if you notice on the front part of the fairing, you got this area to screw it on. Okay, when you put the fairing back onto the bike, the most important part is this front end. You got a couple of notches right here that actually are going to correspond with the headlight. So you just want to make sure that everything is lined up properly. Okay, so those spots that I was showing you on the fairing, there could be one right here, one over here, and one that kind of goes sideways this way. So as you put the fairing on, just be mindful that that's the spots that you're going to need to put it on. You got one here, and that side piece. So you got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. First part of the installation you want to do is make sure you line this piece up first before installing the fairing back. Okay, next you want to put in these rubber pieces, and these are marked left and right. You just got to look right here. As you can see, these rubber pieces that go on to the headlight bracket that are marked left and right. So just make sure you put it on the right location. This one's for the right side, so it's going to go right here, so just pop it in place. Left side over here. Alright, now let's put our front plastic and also our little triangle piece and our windshield. Okay, first off, we are going to install our little triangle cover that goes right here, which is this piece right here. If you notice on the other side, there's going to be this little notch with 2 holes here and these little tabs. Those tabs and this notch is going to correspond with these parts right here. So these 2 tabs right here are going to go with these 2 here, and this center piece is going to go to this piece here. And then pop it in there. It might get a little tricky because of this little lip. This little lip has to go under this little cover, the cover over here of the gauge cluster. So this is just my cable. You may not have this, but if you do happen to have a cable for your radar detector, just move it off to the side for now. And then just pop this in place and make sure that everything is lined up and properly secured. Okay, once you have it in place, it should look like this. Everything nice and flush. Over here it's flush. And on this rubber parts that go in for the bracket, you want to make sure that that little rubber lip goes inside the plastic. So it's plastic here and the rubber part inside here. That lip is tucked away inside where the gauge cluster is, and everything's good. Okay, to install back our windscreen, you're going to notice that there's going to be these rubber pieces right here. There's 4 of them, and then so those would correspond. These 2 bottom ones are going to correspond with this hole right here, and there's another one on this side. Also, you got these like little downward tabs, and those 2 tabs are going to correspond with this hole over here on this side, and the same on the other side. So when you put it in, you want to make sure that you slide this piece down, in and down, and make sure that these rubber holes or these rubber grommet meet up the holes over here. Once everything's in place, these cutouts should match up here. Also, you're going to have these little notches right here, and those notches are going to correspond to the holes right here. Okay, once installed, it should look like this. Front plastic piece. Okay, now to put back your plastic piece, you're going to notice that we have a few tabs here that you need to correspond to the plastic part on the headlight, which I'll show you in a second. But the main parts to concentrate on are going to be this piece, this part here, 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 these 2 on each side. On yours, you're going to have metal tabs on each. On mine, I only have 1 because after my accident, bothered to replace them, so I just have 1 on my side. And then over here, you're going to have some rubber ones, like a rubber little piece right here. Unfortunately, I have 1 on mine. Like I said, after my accident, I didn't realize that I was missing it until I took my bike apart. Don't feel like paying a lot of money to get extra pieces. So on your bike, you're going to have 2. So rubber piece here, rubber piece there, metal bracket here and here. These parts are just going to be like that. And then, you just want to make sure you got these parts over here that will correspond on the bike, which I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so when looking at your bike, so on the plastic, this part is going to match in this little hole slot right over here. So you want to make sure that lines in. These 2 pieces right here is going to go right inside these 2 slots over here. This part with the little metal bracket is going to correspond with this hole right over here, and then this part over here with the little bracket for a screw is going to go on the opposite side on this area. So when you put it in there, you just want to make sure that everything lines up properly and then snaps in place. Once everything snaps in place, you know you're good to go, and then you're ready for the next step. Okay, once everything's snapped in place, it should look like this. Now you're ready to put the screws in on these spots right here. So just gonna tighten on the windscreen and everything over here. So you're gonna have this screw here, this here, same on the opposite end. You're gonna have your screw that's gonna go right over here. Okay, next we're gonna want to put our plastic piece that goes over here to cover this whole section, which is this piece right here. So you want to make sure that this piece right over here goes behind the gauge cluster right over here. So when you put it in, it's going to be a little bit of some maneuverability and trickiness to get it in. But also you got these little grooves and slots over here, which correspond on the other side with these parts right here. So you got one right there and one right over here. Take your time in putting these pieces back in, because you do not want to break those pieces off, because then that means you would need to buy a brand new part. It could be this piece, which may not be expensive, or it could be the whole entire fairing, which could get a little costly. So just take your time in putting the pieces back together. Okay, once you get that plastic piece in, it should look like this. Pretty much almost like how you had it originally. Next is to put the bolt here, a bolt over here, then put a little plastic one over here, and a little plastic one on that little hole right over here too. Okay, next is what you're going to do is you're going to want to put this piece, the plastic piece that goes over there, which is this piece right here. You're going to notice you're going to have two little pointy areas here, one right here and one right here. Those are going to go with corresponding rubber grommets, one right here and one over here. Once you pop those in, you want to get put your screw in there and there. Also, on the front end of this, there's going to be this little lip right here. If you notice in the front of this, there's going to be this little lip right here, and that little lip area is going to go corresponding to this area here. So you want to make sure you notch that in there. If you like my videos, please subscribe, like, leave any comments below, and thank you for watching.